Work for virtual mobile device Honey clients. So welcome them. So you can hear me?
Got it. It's just the on button. So my claim to fame is that I taught Mike Wiegand, who was the UAV Predator talk earlier. And these are two of my other students at the Military Academy, Nate Grunswig and David Brasfield. And they're going to talk about HoneyM, which is a framework for virtual mobile Honey clients. But just to reinforce it after Mike's presentation, if you don't know what's up there, it's actually a picture of the cells at Fort Leavenworth where the prisoners go after they get in trouble. So none of the statements I make here are statements of the Military Academy, and none of them are on behalf of the United States government or its agencies.
Okay, so we all have our mobile devices, smartphones, everything. And you store a lot of information on those nowadays. Everything about your Facebook account to who you've been with the night before. Who you were talking to, say, the ex-girlfriend of Mike, who he is monitoring with the UAV. Well, and we don't give these things any protection at all. We really don't have the basic protection that is now expected in normal computers. But, of course, it could be worse. Credit card systems. Should we really be doing this on a mobile phone? The main design constraint is to keep the Bluetooth radio on there under $2. And so, say when you rely on this exclusively, you might have some issues. When there's a big release, maybe, if you decide to jam the entire wireless spectrum, could be some issues there. But, there's other uses, too, like next one we've got.
Okay, so the medical community is being helped out by wireless, heart rate monitors, respirators, general patient data. But should this stuff really rely on a framework built on low cost as opposed to security? What if this guy shows up? Wireless sniper rifle. Could he really denial of service an entire floor of nurses that are already overworked? Another modification for sniper rifles. An application for windage. Seems like a good idea at first. Here we have our sniper B4 L2 cap. Very, very well hidden, very difficult to see. Now there's the L2 cap echo request. Yes, I am right here. Thank you for asking.
And so there's a lot of devices out there, but no one really cares until their phone gets owned. And we've had that happen a couple times in the past, whether it be the blue bugging attacks from several years ago to Haffey's recent work where he exploited the iPhones via the SDP, or just device driver fuzzing, which is just the coolest thing in the entire world, that results in things like the Broadcom Wi-Fi driver attacks. When I see mobile devices, I see targets. These things, there's so many vectors or ways that you can attack them, and you can culminate those, you can put those together to make the attack even greater. These things rely on a quick rush to market, and they rely on being quickly subsidized and at a low cost. And it's unlikely my mother will ever update her firmware software on a phone once she gets it. And one thing we're not going to even talk about when we talk about mobile devices today, but netbooks. The goal is that these things cost less than $300, and they are always going to be connected. That just doesn't make sense. Right. But attacks are obvious. There's a whole bunch of intrusion detection work out there, signatures written. We know what attacks look like, so why would we ever want to learn more? I think we know what attacks look like on a single vector. We know what a Bluetooth STP attack looks like. We know what a Wi-Fi malformed packet looks like, or a DAuth. But we don't know what it looks like when you combine all of them, and we don't have systems that correlate those events together. So, mobile devices attacks are unique in the fact that you could essentially combine all the elements of the radio. You could discover the Wi-Fi MAC address passively of an iPhone. Once you know that that address is incremental of the Bluetooth radio, which is in a non-discoverable mode, you could send a malformed packet to it, and then you could read the text from last night of someone. Also, there's been so much work done on fuzzing and fuzzing multiple different radios. It makes really evil things possible. The systems don't even need to be connected to the network, and you can send them malformed SSID packets and watch them fall over. So here's the bottom line up front or in the middle of our presentation. We really don't know what's out there. We want to find out what's out there, and so we kind of built a system to start collecting mobile device attacks. And the rest of this presentation is about that system and about how you could do it yourself. And so we took a lot of lessons from the wired community and started building honeypots for mobile devices. Right. As a matter of this, we have to treat everything as the device as a whole. We have to examine all the vectors for the attack. We have to be able to figure out that an attacker is jamming the 3G frequency in order to force us on Wi-Fi. We need to know that the Wi-Fi address has been discovered and Bluetooth fuzzing has begun, and then a vulnerability has been discovered. And we need to be able to correlate all those events together. And so what types of things do we need to listen to? All the following could be essential to making an attack. You could send a false GPS signal to get the time off, and then correlate that with, or make that work with another attack. You could jam 3G and force someone onto Wi-Fi. You could jam Wi-Fi and force someone onto 3G. So, looking at mobile devices, we have to look at all the things that make them unique. Not just the radio communication vectors, but all the integrated browsers and applications and bundled software and third-party apps and homebrew apps. And homebrew apps are really awesome because there wasn't just a recent vulnerability in jailbroken iPhones where people left SSH on. So the things that make a Bluetooth radio unique, the registered OUI, it tells us not only who owns that device, but it may even tell us it's an iPhone, or it's an iPhone and its MAC address for its Wi-Fi radio is the following: the state of discoverability and what RF COM ports are open on it, and L2 cap ports, and what service discoveries it's broadcasting. So we started recording all this stuff for different devices. The same with Wi-Fi. We know what registered OAIs are again, if it's an increment. There's been a lot of great work done on wireless fingerprinting by the Dartmouth folks. TCP fingerprints. We have a lot of great TCP fingerprints for mobile devices as well. They're built into systems like P0F and Queso and banner grabs to identify devices. And what the actual mobile browser HTTP user agent looks like. Okay. Apps introduce a whole new realm of problems in emulating mobile devices. I mean, and really a whole new realm. A realm that we can't even begin to keep up with. So how do we emulate all of this while still inviting attacks and logging? What we built was just a system like this, just off-the-shelf equipment, standard Artigo PC with some Bluetooth dongles and Wi-Fi dongles and GPS, and start reading all of that. All right. We used Python to glue a whole bunch of stuff together to make device signatures. And so there's a bunch of great tools out there. BT Audit will tell you the status, will interrogate the L2CAP and PSM channels for you and let you know what's open and what it looks like. And Nmap, we can obviously run Nmap against the device, and we can use SDB tool and the HCI tools to interrogate Bluetooth devices. The P0F database, which we'll talk a lot about later, is a great signature of all what TCP signatures are out there. And we can use it to create signatures of our mobile devices. And then HCI tools will give us the host controller information on a Bluetooth device. And so, being the Army officer I am, I glued everything together with a whole bunch of Python code. And then, to do traffic generation, there's a lot of great things out there. Scapy and PyBlueEz, and again, P0F does traffic generation for us as well. And then logging is vital in this because we want to discover what's happening, what's being sent to those devices. And so tools like Wireshark and Kismet and TCP dump and spec tools and GPSD will all monitor different aspects of what we want to log. So our system works like this. For each device that's out there, we interrogate all of them and we build an XML profile. And it's just part of an XML profile that gets loaded up. Each different port that's out there, whether it be a TCP port or a UDP port or an RFCOM or PSM, we write specific scripts to do what that mobile device is doing in that state. And then those scripts also log all the activity. And then we also, after interrogating both the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth radios of the device, we flash all that stuff onto our radios, and then so it looks exactly like it. The DBT120 Bluetooth dongle is the dongle of choice. You can flash it with BCCD, and it will flash most of the Cambridge Silicon radios. The tool is written by Marcel Holtman and Adam Laurie. We can turn a Bluetooth radio into anything. We can turn it into a mobile phone. We can turn it into a netbook. And writing Bluetooth code with BluePy is so simple. And so I just wanted to flash it up there real quick. We can advertise a Bluetooth phone book completely and then begin logging any activity to that phone book. The Wi-Fi hardware, there's probably other USB dongles out there that do it really well. The dongle of choice that we used was the AirPCAP transmit. We didn't mind paying the Windows tax on it because some of the radios won't allow us to change the MAC OUI, and so we wanted to be able to change the MAC address OUI, and it supports traffic injection. The thing about this device is if you try to get it running under Linux, and I only tell you this because it ruined one afternoon for me, was that Compat Wireless will run as a driver on it, but in order to run as a driver, and it will run in userland, when you compile it, you just need to add the USB vendor ID to the source file. Scapy. It's so easy, even Army officers can write packet injection code. That was my best attempt at a joke. I tried really hard. I had that one in reserve. So Scapy is great because it supports all of the protocols we want to talk on. So when we want to pretend to be particular HTML traffic on TCP, we can tell Scapy exactly what we want. And it will work on both Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and IP. It will build packets exactly how we tell them to build them at all different layers. And there's a world of great reference out there. If you want to write packet injection code, and Scapy's great for it. In fact, in the process of doing this work, I came across an entire TCP finite state machine written in Scapy by Adam Pridgeon over at the Cover of Night. Absolutely amazing. So if you want to generate a 802.11 wireless packet that's a DNS reply on Scapy, you can do it in 3 lines of code just like that. All right. And this is the beauty of it. Scapy can actually integrate, too, with P0F, the database of device fingerprints. We can use P0F to impersonate a TCP SYN. So if someone's doing TCP fingerprinting against our device, we can pass the OS right up in the packet, and it will pass the fingerprinting check. And you can use the P0F tool to collect all those signatures as well. Mimicking users is really difficult. How they act and how they behave and what their traffic looks like and what percentage of that traffic is just malformed by nature and what percentage of it is malformed with the intent to cause harm. Here's a joke coming up. Thanks. I think I have one on the next slide, too. We can't just fire off wget scripts to kittenwar.com and I love cats and pretend to be a college student. Our traffic has to be representative of actual traffic. And so in the process, we built 4 different traffic models of what traffic behavior might look like. The joke's on this slide, if you're missing it. So top secret government agents do things like VPN and SSH, and they use PKI on. They really do. Corporate employees do things like browsing webmail and logging on and getting financial news and hidden sites like that. And university students, and this is another joke, they do things like, well, university students do. All right. So this is what it looks like together. And here's what happens. When we fire it up and we pick a profile of a mobile phone and you fire whatever Bluetooth scanner you have against it, it will come back and tell you that that's a mobile phone. And if you interrogate it later and ask for its service discovery records, you'll see that it matches all the service discovery records of what that specific device is supposed to have. And so it's pretty convincing that it's an actual device. And if you scan it with Nmap or something, if you're connected to the same network, you'll see that it offers the same ports and services that would naturally be offered. Okay. So logging all of the activity becomes a challenge because any communication to the device is actually suspect. But that doesn't mean that every Bluetooth name request is bad. I mean, this happens all the time where you put out a device and it gets queried by someone trying to connect their iPhone headset. So it's going to register a lot of false positives. And so we're looking for ways to take out all the false positives in our system. Ideally, in honeypots, all the traffic to it is suspect. But when you build mobile device honeypots, there's a lot of interoperability that's supposed to be built into the system, and so it becomes naturally suspect, and you run the risk of false positives. So these are all the types of things we're logging. We're logging the entire frequency spectrum, the activity on it. We're logging access to all the transport layer protocols. We're logging all the activity to the applications. And then additionally, embedded in our traffic generation are bogus websites, and any further attempts to access those websites or different resources we're logging as well. So this is an example of a Wi-Fi packet we grabbed. We don't know if it's just a malformed packet or if it's an actual attack. Recording Bluetooth is really a challenge because right now all we can get is the host control layer information, and so that doesn't tell us a lot. with specialized equipment like we have a protocol analyzer that can pull up the Bluetooth information, the full packet dump. In a PicoNet, we can cover everything, but with just a simple computer like this, all we're getting is the host controller information, and that tells us something. It tells us all the events that have been generated up to the host, and if someone connects to the Bluetooth radio or to an L2 cap ports and starts issuing commands, we get that, but we don't get everything. And in an ideal world, this is what everyone would get. We get the full packet dumps. Application logging layer is great. We get exactly what commands get issued. Here, someone was generating a blue bug attack. Right. And then we're logging all of the spec tools. Spec tools is now built into Kismet, and we're using it to log all the spectrum analysis that's going on the 2.4 gigahertz and frequency. And we can correlate to that to actual events against the mobile devices. There's some unique legal constraints. Typically with honeypots, you have the issues of you can use the trespasser consent to say that someone has access to your device and therefore you can record. But with mobile devices and trying to record all wireless, everything on 2.4, we can't say that everyone stepping on 2.4 is trespass against us. And so you have to be able to carve out the specific traffic that's intended for you. The Bluetooth packet capture without specialized equipment is kind of a shortcoming. The fact that the entire device is subject to chaff. You could send lots and lots of packets and obscure your actual attacks, and someone analyzing would never have the ability to decode what's actually the attack from within there. But this is a similar problem that wired honey nets have, and we tried to solve it like this. Again, joke, not funny. Right. Mobile devices are dynamic. Attacks are dynamic, relying on multiple protocols. We use honey clients to discover these attacks. I will gladly take any questions you got about the device. Will.
Where were you actually setting up these HoneyMs, and could you actually repeat the question for the guys on the screen?
Sure. So we really haven't had a good deployment plan yet. Last year we brought it out to DEF CON and set it up, but we're just kind of limited with what we could actually capture because we didn't want to violate any of the actual laws. So we were trying to carve out the actual traffic intended for the device. And we got some stuff, and then that was probably the one big place we brought it. But we have intentions of bringing it lots of other places and starting to look for novel attacks.
But just at DEF CON, when you were testing this in your labs, you just had it set up like a military copy, or?
No, we brought it out to DEF CON with a ShmooCon sticker on it. Sure, it's I think an A1000 Artigo PC. I'm sorry, the question was, what's the actual hardware on here again? And it's just an Artigo A1000, I believe, PC. And off of it, we just have a standard Garmin GPS dongle that we're registering all the GPS traffic on. D-Link, DBT 120 Bluetooth dongles, and Air PCAP transmit cards. And additionally, we hung a 3G radio off of it so we could access it remotely and pull in all the data so we could hide it in different locations.
What's the approximate cost?
The most expensive thing are the transmit cards. I want to say they're about $300 per card. And then, but the Bluetooth radio is about $25, and the Artigo PC is a couple $100. less than $1,000, and you can find cheaper cards probably, but you could probably do it for about $500. I guess the question was, what's the cost? So we saw a lot of false positives. The devices just kept coming up, especially on the Bluetooth radio. We kept seeing people interrogate our Bluetooth devices for what they are and read their service records, and then after that, a couple connected to. We had some suspect L2 cap channels, and they just started fuzzing those L2 cap channels with different information. We saw. On Wi-Fi, we didn't see a lot because we were real cautious to make sure we weren't crossing any boundaries that we shouldn't. So we just saw what went towards that device, which wasn't a whole heck of a lot.
Could you just for the guys watching the streams, could you just quickly go over the chipsets and parts you're using?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Could you go over just a quick overview of the parts you're using?
Sure. The parts again are an Arduino PC computer. It's a small form factor computer. It runs 1 gig of RAM, I think a 1 gigahertz or 2 gigahertz processor inside. Runs a full Linux Ubuntu distribution on it. And then a Garmin GPS dongle to capture GPS data. And then D-Link DBT120 Bluetooth dongles. And Air PCAP transmit Wi-Fi cards. And then I additionally had a 3G USB card hanging off the back of it too as well. Yeah, if you plug it in indoors and try to get a signal, it doesn't work. The question was, have you seen anything interesting on the GPS?
Can this all be combined into one board?
Sure, you could definitely combine this all into one board, and ultimately that's where we'd like to go and have a nice small form factor device that we can hide in different locations. The question was, could you all combine this all into one board?
You said you used Python to glue a lot of pieces together. Just talk about some of the pieces you put together, what it was.
Sure. So some of the things are that, go back to that slide. The question was, you used Python to glue everything together. Could you describe just a little bit of how you did that? So, for example, with the logging, Kismet supports, it's a client-server architecture. And so when we fired up Kismet, we were able to use Python to just write some scripts to, as clients, connect to Kismet and pull out all the necessary data that we wanted, and only dump that data, and it pulled data like on all the Wi-Fi management frames and wireless traffic intended for our device, as well as the entire spectrum activity on the 2.4 gigahertz with spec tools, as well as it was interfacing with things like GPSD to dump the GPS location inside of a building. And dumping all our TSP dump and such. Traffic generation is awesome with Scapy, which is where we really like doing it, because you could write code to do just about whatever you wanted it to do, and emulate or make users fairly easy doing different activity by writing Scapy code, as well as you could force the devices to do things on both Wi-Fi and Bluetooth with Scapy pretty well. Not yet, but we want to go in that direction. Obviously, GSM presents a whole new factor, and there's a lot of exciting work down that road, but we didn't do that. The question was there any GSM? So there is a specific protocol for Bluetooth devices that are supposed to be mobile, and they actually are supposed to follow a specific protocol per the Bluetooth spec. But the problem is that when you start putting these devices, these applications on not the originally intended isolated Bluetooth radio, you put them on. You put them on an iPhone or a Palm Pilot, and you tell a nurse to walk around with it. It just becomes really dangerous and scary for us that my grandfather's hearing aid relies on a Palm Pilot, or his patient data is all relayed off an iPhone to a nurse.
Have you tried the Wi-Fi dongle?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. The question was, have you used the Wi-Fi dongles? I totally elapsed there. We use the Wi-Fi dongles to record all the spectrum activity. Wi-Fi is a company that makes a great frequency spectrum analyst dongle. They make it in a couple different versions. They make it in a 900 megahertz version that measures everything on 9 megahertz. They make it in a 2.4, and then they make it in one that can switch between 2.4 and 5. And it is and they run the gamut of $99 up to about $600 for the most expensive one, and they are so easy to work with. And then Spec Tools is a piece of application that under Linux will dump all that data for you that the author of Kismet wrote.
Are you planning on making the software available?
We'd like to. There's some issues with whether or not we can do that right now. We'd really like to be able to put it out there at some point. The question was, are you making it available at some point?
Earlier you talked about being able to mimic different types of ports that would be open, say like on the iPhone or anything like that. What about the actual services? Are you able to mimic that as well if someone actually makes a connection, tries to do a banner grab to a service?
So at this point in the game, we delve down into some of the services, not all of them. So for things like blue bugging, for example, we allowed the service to be answer the questions that we knew it was going to ask, but we didn't replicate the full services of something like hands-free audio. We just offered the service up and logged what got sent to it after the initial connection. So if there's no more questions, I'll put up all of our contact information if you want to contact us later or talk offline.